Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our WAFB YouTube page and something we're going to start to do more of here. Something we probably should have done a while back. I've done it a lot on Facebook, but I'm going to start getting more active in the YouTube space as well. And our sports department is in terms of going live with you here on our WAFB YouTube page. I'm Jacques Talk from WAFB Channel 9, and it's Monday. It is September the 18th, and we're here to talk LSU football as the Tigers couldn't have been much more perfect in a 41-14 SEC opening drubbing of Mississippi State in Starkville. I was there to cover it as usual, there to cover your LSU Tigers on the road and at home. And when it comes to this game, LSU dominant on both sides of the football. Just taking a look at some of the notes I took throughout the game. LSU jumped out to a 24-0 lead with about 3 minutes left to go in the first half. And during that time, LSU outgained Mississippi State 294 yards to just 7 for the Bulldogs. Jayden Daniels, LSU's veteran quarterback, veteran only in his second year playing for LSU, but in his fifth year of college football after 3 years at Arizona State, perhaps had the best performance. Not perhaps, did have the best performance of his collegiate career statistically. 30 out of 34 through the air, 361 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. His rating was 196.8. That is a completion percentage of 88%. That is an LSU record for a single game record for a completion percentage in at least 25 attempts. I saw somebody make a comment on another Facebook page trying to downplay or trying to say that it wasn't as impressive because it had to be 25 attempts or more. So what you're telling me is you would have been more impressed if a quarterback would have gone 4 for 4 for 40 yards as opposed to 30 out of 34 for 361. Anyway, Jayden Daniels, I would expect, would be getting some Player of the Week honors and some National Player of the Week honors as well. Malik Neighbors, his top target, unstoppable. This brought us back to Rohan Davey and Josh Reed days in 2000 and 2001. Neighbors, 13 catches, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was targeted 13 times. He caught the ball 13 times. That is 100%. Brian Thomas Jr., our guy from Walker, Louisiana, in his third season as an LSU Tiger, also had a big game. He was working more of the intermediate routes, and in the game caught 7 passes for 60 yards. He was targeted 8 times. Had a lot of big catches and first downs for the LSU Tigers. One of the bigger plays early on in the game, at least in my humble opinion, Jayden Daniels rolled to his left. He was looking for somebody. Nobody was open, and knew in his mind and knew in the play that he had Logan Diggs all the way on the other side of the field. Perhaps you could call it a dangerous pass, but across the field, all the way across the grain to Diggs, who made a catch and lumbered for 16 yards and a first down. Chris Hilton Jr., as he's talked about, or Coach Kelly has talked about, Chris Hilton Jr., also in his third year from Zachary High School, wants to be a complete wide receiver. He doesn't want to just be known as a speedster, stretch the field guy. He wants to be known as a complete wide receiver. His stats were not gaudy, but his catches were important. I believe there was a first down catch out of the 2. 2 catches, 9 yards, caught one across the middle for LSU. And so that is your lowdown in the receiving game for LSU. The running game was productive for LSU. It didn't have to do a ton, although LSU did have 39 carries for 163 yards. Jayden Daniels, your quarterback, had a lot of impressive scrambles. He is a defensive coordinator's nightmare in many respects. When it's a 3rd and 5, is he handing off? Is he running? Is he throwing? Had a long of 23 in the game as he had 64 yards rushing, 4.3 yards per carry, and scored twice. Logan Diggs, productive on the ground, 9 carries, 41 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. And then Caleb Jackson, LSU's true freshman from Liberty Magnet High School in Baton Rouge, had perhaps the run of the day, the highlight of the day, flattening a Mississippi State defender in the second half, certainly bringing back memories of Leonard Fournette doing the same at Texas A&M as a freshman back in 2014, and certainly 2016 when Fournette trucked Ole Miss in Tiger Stadium. Caleb got a long way to go before we're talking about Caleb Jackson and Leonard Fournette in the same sentence in terms of a career. But in terms of running and the physicality, Malik Neighbors had told us that Caleb Jackson reminded him of Leonard Fournette, and there it was on display for us. Josh Williams doing his job, 4 carries, 17 yards, had a touchdown. Nolan Kane, 3 carries, 15 yards with a long of 9. Defensively, as I go back here to our live streaming here, defensively for LSU in this game, we knew that Mississippi State came into the contest as a program and a team in transition since the tragic passing of the legendary mind Mike Leach in the air raid attack. With a new head coach in Zach Arnett, who was promoted from the defensive side of the ball, and a guy who thinks about physicality and the air raid perhaps being too finesse. And if it's 3rd and 3, I want to be able to line up and run it, as opposed to we're always going wide and putting the ball in the air and putting it at risk and throw. And our offensive linemen are always backing up. Let's go forward. But this is a problem for State so far. And the Boo Birds were out early and often in this contest as I said, Mississippi State, the first 5 times they got the football, gained a total of 7 yards. LSU's defense was all over them. Weeks, number 40 linebacker, led LSU with 8 tackles in the game. Harold Perkins, I believe that's his first quarterback sack of the season. He also had 2 tackles for loss, broke up a pass. And you saw LSU sack the quarterback in the game 4 times. I thought that Savion Jones, former St. James star and former Warwick Dunn Award Player of the Year winner for WAFB, impacted the game a lot early on. I believe it was the 2nd or 3rd play of the game. He gets in the backfield on a pass rush. Mississippi State has to throw the ball away. And then on the second possession of the game, he gets home for a 7-yard quarterback sack in the contest. So when you talk about Wes Rogers, he went 11 out of 28 in the game for a total of 103 yards. So in the past, Rogers has racked up all sorts of yardage. I think he's got over 11,000 yards passing in his career. And, you know, similar to how LSU fans perhaps were griping about, LSU self-imposing or taking their best player out of the game in Harold Perkins on the defensive side of the ball, has Mississippi State done the right thing with Will Rogers in terms of playing to his strengths and whatnot, because the rushing game couldn't get going with Woody Marks, although he had a 52-yard carry late in the first half. You take that away, he had 23 yards rushing on the other 7 carries he had. And Mississippi State finishes with 21 carries for 94 yards. Rogers, negative 25 on the ground with the sacks and whatnot. So Mississippi State, as I said, their fans were very frustrated, not happy with this transition on offense, and certainly not happy with the performance they showed. They said that the game was sold out. On Friday, they announced that there were plenty of empty seats in the stadium to be had. However, despite the fact that Davis Wade Stadium is not on par with Jordan-Hare Stadium at Auburn, or the Swamp in Gainesville, or Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, it does get pretty loud in there. The noise is concentrated in the cowbells, which me personally, I don't have a problem with the cowbells. A lot of people gripe about them and this and that. They shouldn't be allowed. I would agree with some of the media people I talked to from Mississippi State. They are pretty well behaved with it. When the team is in the huddle, they're shaking it, but when they come to the line, they stop shaking those cowbells. There might be a couple of yahoos here and there. They're still banging them, but the noise goes away when the opposing team comes to the line. And if that's one of their traditions, let them have it. I don't have a big problem with the cowbells and what they do in Starkville, Mississippi. Cut them a break. So LSU with the victory, big bounce back, and we all have a tendency of thinking that we know something by just watching a weekend of college football, and we overreact to games, and we come to these big conclusions that this team's in trouble or this team's really good. And so certainly right now, a lot of people are going to be saying Alabama is in big trouble. They don't know what they're doing with their quarterback's position. They can't block. and going up against a team in South Florida who I could not believe South Florida only won one game last year. I thought that was a better program than that. But regardless, Alabama really struggles in the slop. It rained. There was a long weather delay before Alabama finally won the game. 17-3 was the final score. So a lot of people saying, the West is up in the air, which I agree with. I think the West is there for the taking. It's there for LSU to take and go to Tuscaloosa and win that game in early November. But LSU's got a lot of terrain to navigate between now and then, starting with this weekend against Arkansas. A look at Arkansas tells you, and a look at the point spread tells you this game is going to be easy for LSU, but just ask the Tennessee Volunteers about thinking you've got a game won or thinking you're going to cruise. They go to the Swamp and get smashed by Florida, a team that everyone said had huge problems and was going to have a horrific season. LSU is a 18-point favorite against Arkansas. The Razorbacks had a chance to improve to 3-0 on the season this past weekend. They instead had blew a 31-21 lead at home to BYU as Arkansas's offense really went dead down the stretch. BYU is able to steal a victory. Beautiful one-handed reception in the end zone for a touchdown. So Arkansas, if you remember back, 2019 LSU's dream team was able to smash Arkansas at home. But since then, it has not gone that way for LSU. They, I think, won by a field goal in Fayetteville during the COVID season of 2020. I think they had to block a field goal late in the game. I think it was Jay Ward that blocked the field goal for LSU as the Tigers won that one only by 3 points. 2021, Ed Ogeron had already been fired. He was playing out the string, but Arkansas came to LSU and won by a field goal. And last year, LSU goes to Fayetteville and wins by a field goal. So I think these last 3 games, each one has been decided by a field goal. And LSU, I'm getting a text message as I'm live here from people at work, which I'll get to here in a second. But the game has been close, is what I'm saying, each of the last several seasons since 2019. So that is the recent history of it all. But LSU, an 18-point favorite to beat Arkansas this weekend and continue to bounce back since that season opening loss to Florida State. All right, I'm Jacques Talk. I just wanted to stop by and give some quick thoughts here to you guys as we kind of start to learn, or I try to learn this medium a little bit better in terms of going live on YouTube. But I just wanted to stop by and give my thoughts on the LSU-Arkansas game coming up, and, of course, LSU having their way with Mississippi State, a dominant performance in which LSU couldn't have played much better on either side of the ball, offensively or defensively, in an SEC game on the road. Tigers get it done. I'm Jacques Talk. Thanks for stopping by. We'll chat with you later.